Josh, so good to see you. This is a public service announcement for everyone. Do not take a loan from your 401k. According to Transamerica Center for Retirement, about 34 to 37% of workers have either taken a loan, early withdrawal, or a hardship withdrawal from their 401k. Most people think they are borrowing from themselves when they take a 401k loan. But according to Vanguard, the average 401k balance in 2024 was 121,000, which isn't enough to get you through retirement. So how can taking money out of your 401k even temporarily set you back?
Yeah, the big thing is that you lose out on the compound interest,
Right.
and that's our best friend in investing. You want your interest to make interest to make interest to make interest, and you lose out on that availability because while that money's out of there, you're not making interest. A lot of people believe that they're paying themselves back the interest. Well, you're not paying yourselves back near the interest that you would have been making in your 401k.
Right.
And also, the big thing we're going to talk about is the double taxation. We talk a lot about taxes here, and the worst thing we want to do, we don't even want to pay the taxes we owe, let alone 2 times the taxes that we owe.
Right. Yeah, we'll get into that one in a second, but I do want to touch on the math behind that compound growth, right? Because Fidelity found that a 30-year-old who borrows $10,000 and misses just 5 years of growth could lose more than $25,000 by retirement. So can you explain how this math works, please?
Yeah, it's that compound interest that we love so much. The
Yeah.
easiest way to envision it is, say you're going to make a snowball, like a snowman with your kids, and you got your snowball and you start rolling it at the top of the hill. Well, by the time you get to the bottom of the hill, the snow keeps packing on top of each other, and you have a gigantic snowball. Well, what if you started the snowball at the top of the hill and then picked it up and carried it halfway down the hill and then put it back down and started rolling it again? Your snowball would be less than half the
Right.
size
Right.
because you don't have all that compounding.
Right. Yeah, that's a good analogy. So now let's talk about that double tax hit because of course, like I get it, but I had never thought about it this way before. A lot of people don't realize that repayments on your 401k loan have to be made with your after-tax dollars. And then when you go to withdraw that money again in retirement, you're going to be taxed on it. Again, this is a double tax hit.
Yeah, and it's huge. Like we talked about before, we don't really like paying the taxes that we owe. We don't want to voluntarily pay double.
Right.
And and then those are dollars that you can't be putting into your 401k tax deferred.
Hmm.
And again, it affects the compounding.
Hmm. Right. It's crazy how it kind of adds up. So now, Josh, explain what you lose if you don't pay back that loan.
Yeah. So the big thing is obviously if you don't pay back that loan, then you've got to pay the state and local taxes. You've got to pay the federal tax, but then you have this nice little thing called the early withdrawal penalty, which is a
Right.
10% additional tax, which again is more taxation that you actually volunteered for. And so if you were going to take out $100,000 and then you don't pay it back, by the time you pay all these taxes, you really only got the value of $62,000 of
That's
that
crazy.
$100,000. So
Right.
people think, oh, well, it's cheaper than getting a loan from the bank, but really it's not cheaper than getting a loan from the bank because in no world are you going to spend, 38% on a loan at the bank.
Absolutely. Right. And then a good reminder to everybody, most people change jobs every 4 years. And typically when you leave an employer, you have to pay back the loan before you leave. So that's not a long runway to pay it back. So Josh, before we tap our 401k, what should we consider first?
I mean, really every other option.
Yeah.
It should be the absolute last option. If you've got a home, you can tap into the equity in your home with a HELOC or a refinance on the mortgage, because at least those are tax deductible if you file long form. And those rates are going to be much less than the 38% we just talked about. But the big thing we want to do is we never want to be reactionary in our financial planning. We want to be proactive. So before you need the loan, prepare and save. We all should have short to mid-term savings accounts. It's
Mhm.
very, very important that we're saving long-term for retirement and preparing for the way future, but we also need to be preparing for the short-term and midterm future
Right.
for these things, because we're all going to want new cars eventually, and updating the house and remodeling projects or whatever comes up. If we prepare for those ahead of time, it can be so much more lucrative and beneficial to our financial planning.
Right, exactly. Always need to be thinking long term. So, Josh, if somebody would like to sit down with you, make sure that they have that financial plan laid out that accounts for all of these variables and discrepancies that inevitably come up along the way. What's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, they can get us on the website and schedule a meeting at millardfg.com, or give us a call at the office at 260-488-8300.
Great. Josh, thank you.
Thanks, Erin.